Let me premise this review by saying that the Dewar's Age 12 Years that I purchased was kind of like a box gift set, and it was the only one inside the supermarket at the time that I could buy, and you could not buy one that was not in a box. So I don't know if the price is necessarily the same or not had these items not been included in the box, but it is what it is, and I was going to purchase it regardless. So I'm happy to have received these things, but it was not completely necessary for me, and this has no influence on me whatsoever. But inside of the box came some cutlery items, a nice little copper tone fork and a knife, as well as a Dewar's recipe book on how to make some small meals or snacks that you can pair up with this whiskey. And it was a nice little box set to have received, but that's that. All right, now let's get on with the show. All right, here we go. Dewar's Age 12 Years, take one. Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to yet another episode of Gentlemen's Club Whiskey. I am your host, Mark Antimate, and in today's episode, we are going to be conducting the review over the Dewar's True Scotch, aged 12 years, the Ancestor Blended Scotch Whisky from John Dewar's & Son Limited. All right, selected oak cask. And this one comes in at 40% ABV in a 700 milliliter size bottle. And the reason why I'm going to be doing the review over this one, the reason why I even bought it in the first place is that I had put up a podcast very recently, and it was paying tribute to Sir Sean Connery, the late Sir Sean Connery, who had passed away on October 31st. And inside of that podcast, I talked about Sean Connery as well as the character that he's most famously portrayed, which is James Bond, and the creator of James Bond, Mr. Ian Fleming. So I talked about these three people and all three of their associations with whiskey. And it turns out Sean Connery did some ad work for three different companies. The first one being Jim Beam in 1966 and 1967. And in 1992, circa 1992, because it's not proven, it could have been 91 or 92, but I believe it was 92. He was promoting Suntory Crest, which is a Japanese whiskey. Was a Japanese whiskey. They don't sell Suntory Crest anymore. That one is now defunct. And finally, it took him about a good 50 years before he started promoting whiskey from his own country, being Scotland. And it was in the year 2004 that he signed a 1-year deal to do ad work for Dewar's, and he made a commercial for them as well. And the commercial that he did and the whiskey that he was promoting was the Dewar's Age 12. So, because I talked about it inside of the podcast, and I didn't have this whiskey on me at the time to drink alongside, while I was doing the podcast. You know what? I thought I would just go ahead and buy this bottle and just do a separate review about it. I don't know much about Dewar's at all, but let me see here. I just pulled up some quick information on the internet, and it says John Dewar Sr. started this company in London in 1846, but it was his son Tommy Dewar who garnered attention for the Scotch whiskey brand in the late 1880s. Their white label whiskey quickly became and still is a bestseller based on Dewar's pervasive advertising. All right, let me see. Is there anything else inside of here that is noteworthy? Yeah. Americans purchase more of this whiskey than any other single bottle of scotch. The brand was more recently purchased by Bacardi in 1998, who interestingly built a museum to showcase much of the brand's advertising, labels, and other knickknacks from the early 20th century. And they have other expressions aside from the age 12 years old, the Dewar's white label. They also have blends with 15 and 18-year-old statements. All right, so that's that. I'm pulling this information about their background from thewhiskeywash.com, and that's whiskey with an E. So what I'm going to do now, I got my Glencairn glass. I'm going to open this up for the first time. Let's see what we got here. Well, I just messed that up. I was supposed to pull that all the way around, and it didn't go all the way around. So now I'm going to have to struggle getting the rest of this cap off. Oh, man. Hate it when that happens. Well, actually, I don't want to say hate it when that happens. This is the first time that this has actually happened to me. I don't have any keys or anything. So I'm getting ready to go inside the next room, get a knife, and cut this thing open. And I'm going to have a tasting of this off camera, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give my tasting notes on it. So let's take a quick break real quick, and I'll be right back, gentlemen. So I was able to get the rest of this little protective lid off right here with a small little knife. Let me put this thing away before somebody gets hurt. And I thought this was a screw cap, but in true Scotch fashion, we have some cork. Screw it off nice and gently because I don't want this breaking off inside of there. I especially hate when that happens, when cork gets broken off inside the whiskey. So I kind of pull it off in a sense as if I'm unscrewing a screw cap, but it's really not. Let's have our first pour of this. Smells pretty good. Smells pretty good. That's about it. I think that's about a good enough helping. All right, like I said, I'm getting ready to conduct my review off camera, and then I'll come back and I'll give you guys my notes. And that's going to be that. Let me put this to the side. Okay. So I just finished conducting my taste test, and I was able to get that out of the way a lot quicker than what I usually do. I didn't have to take so much time assessing it. I'm kind of, I wouldn't say a perfectionist. It's just that it does sometimes take me a great deal of time or a lot longer to assess a whiskey than others might. I don't really consider myself a professional, but in order to kind of put myself on par and box with these guys, it takes me a lot longer of a time to try to assess something. But with this one, it came rather easily. So on the nose, it's a very rich and light nosing experience, consisting of primarily malted barley and oak and ripe fruits. And there's something sweet, caramel perhaps, on the nose. And after letting it sit for so long, well, it's been inside of this glass for, I would say, about a good 15 minutes now. At this point in time, it's more vanilla than anything else after all the smells start to escape. But initially, what I said initially about the nosing experience, malted barley, ripe fruits, and sweet caramel, that's what you'll find when you do your initial pour. On the palate, caramel and dark fruits that soon turn into like a buttery milk chocolate. And the finish is very rich, smooth, slightly sweetened chocolate. Not too sweet, but just slightly sweetened chocolate. And it also has some of the dark fruits, like dark berries that you have there in the palate is in the finish. But those dark berries are more of an aftertaste after you have swallowed and you just kind of just sit back and relax for a little bit. That taste starts to come up. Very pleasantly surprised with this one, seeing as the price that I paid for it here in Japan was about 2,000 yen. And I don't even know if that was the price actual, because as you've seen in the beginning of the video, mine came with 2 pieces of silverware. It came with a knife and a fork, and also it came with the recipe book. So it was kind of like a box bundle, but had it not come with those gifts, would it have been the same price? Probably yes. But that could have added some extra value to the price, to say the least. But regardless of whether it did or didn't, it's a very affordable 12 years blended Scotch whiskey. And listen to me now. Now, I know this is really comparing apples and oranges, because it's not right to compare blended whiskey against single malt whiskeys. But for the price value that I'm getting out of this, and yeah, just the price value that I'm getting out of this, the taste on this one is, comparing it against the Japanese whiskey, this is so much better than the Yamazaki 12 years age whiskey, which I've also reviewed on this channel, by the way, and I've sold so much of it and I've drank it so many times. It's not one that I like so much. Not to say that you won't like it, but you know, for the bang per buck, this would definitely be the way to go for an age statement, and for a daily drinker. This is it. This is a nice one now. At 40% ABV, very light, super smooth, very balanced. You can't go wrong with this. Just, I would say go ahead and give it a try, just based on the fact of how much you have to pay for it. You're not going to be at great risk for anything if you happen to don't like it, but I believe that you will like it. Anyways, that concludes my review over this, the Dewar's True Scotch, aged 12 years. Salute to you wherever you may be out in the world. Make sure that you drink responsibly, and as always, gentlemen, you know what to do. Keep it classy.